You ready to talk about the crash?
Sure. I just thought this was it. Like I'm getting in the air. And I ran and I ran and I'm pulling brake and I'm pulling brake. And next thing you know, I was pulling brake. I was down to here. And by the time that I actually did take off, my hands were pretty much down to my hips. And about 8 feet in the air, the wing stalled, fell back, and I just came crashing down onto my frame. It was a shock. It was a huge shock because I was supposed to be in the air and I was on the ground.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh. You okay? You okay?
I think when something like that happens, you can just look at what happened in the moment and say, well, you know, she crashed because she pulled too much brake. And essentially, if you look at the physics of it, that was it. She pulled too much brake, and the wing did what every wing will do when it doesn't have enough lift to continue to fly, and that is it turns into a brick. It just stops flying. That's what wings do when you decrease the lift to a point where they can no longer sustain themselves. But there's always way more to it than that. There's always a story. There's a story behind every incident in aviation. And that's the same with this. And the story involves many different elements that led to kind of the perfect storm.
It was at the tail end of our stay with our friend Jeff. And coming up at the tail end of a trip, there's a lot to think about, and I was not sleeping that well during that time. We had to get up really early the next day to fly PINAL. So we did. We got up, my gosh, it was 3:30 or something like that. And we drove off an hour and a half. And so we got to the LZ. It wasn't ideal. We were in the middle of the desert, so you have little trees here and there. So I was a little bit intimidated by the LZ, right, our takeoff strip. So that from the start didn't help, but either way, we were gonna find a way to get up in the air and go fly this AIRPARK. The red flags were starting to show up quite early in the process. You know, I'd forgotten my helmet in the car, so I had to go back, get my helmet, put the helmet, oh, forgot my sunglasses. So go back to the car, get the sunglasses. So I kept gearing up and setting up my wing, and everybody was setting up their wing, and I started to try and launch, and I just got intimidated by a bush or got intimidated by the terrain, and just for whatever reason it was, I just couldn't get off the ground. So I just kept setting up my wing, taking my time, you know, clipping in and bringing the wing up, and lo and behold, again, failed launch. And I had 8 failed launches. And the guys didn't know that, actually, because they had gone around the park a few times, and when they came back, they just saw that I was on the ground.
I didn't realize that you'd had 8 failed launches. But then I didn't ask either. Like when we landed, I didn't check in with you to see if you were good. All I was interested in was, you gotta come see this. This is amazing. And I was more worried about you not having that life experience than checking in with you just to see if you were okay to do it, you know? So, and I feel that strongly, that I had failed you in that moment by doing that.
Greg came up to me and he's like, you have to come and see this. Like, you have to come and fly the park. We're getting you in the air. And I thought, okay, we're gonna get in the air, you know? So we decided we were gonna change LZs. So we just drove around and found another space that it was a little bit better, or a lot better, I should say, for taking off. And by that time, I mean, I had 8 failed launches, and let's call that a lot of red X's. But we were just determined, you know. I really wanted to fly this with him, and I could tell, you know, he had such a great time out there. I was FOMOing like crazy, so I wanted to get in the air. So once again, set up the wing, and the guys were both on the ground, and they're saying, Cynthia, we'll get you in the air. All right, cool. Strap on the paramotor, you know, rev up the engine again, get into the wing. And I just thought this was it. Like, I'm getting in the air. It was a fairly new wing, but I launched it lots of times. I went flying and I loved it. I loved flying with that wing. It was nice. It was maneuverable. The takeoffs were great. The landings were awesome. The equipment didn't fail me. When I look back, it's actually the opposite. Like, I failed the equipment.
How are you?
There's really no part of me that wants to talk to the camera right now, and I am, because this is real. I'm just shocked, and I feel like I can't stop crying, and yeah, I guess it's just disappointing. And I really wanted to fly over the boneyard, and I guess I felt it was really important to you also. And I know that the best thing to do right now would be to get right back on the horse and fly, but after 9 attempts, I'm pretty tired, so that's not gonna happen today.
You had 9 attempts?
Yeah, I tried. I think it was 9 times. And I should have stopped after 3 and call it quits.
Hey, you're okay. That's the most important thing. Machines can be bent back into shape way easier than people. One of the things that the guys at Fly My PPG said, that if we ever have any issues at any point, to call them, and they can listen to what happened, and we can send them footage, which we've done here. They've analysed it, and now they're talking to Cynthia and just talking her through what went wrong, and also just giving us some kind of moral support, because obviously her ego's been flattened at this point.
He got on the phone, and he was just so supportive and understanding and there for me. And I needed that. It's just important that I see what I did, you know, that I really understand what happened, and that I take responsibility for that. Not like I take fault for it, but that I have the ability to respond to these situations next time. And I did. I took full responsibility for it, and I could name all of the things that I did wrong that morning. Yeah.
Anybody would have been desperate to get in the sky. Anybody would have felt the same, I think. And we should have taken a breath together and really looked at what was going on in the moment. It's taken a while to make the decision to make this film because it's difficult footage to watch. I think everybody I've spoken to and sent the footage to has watched this video more than I have at this point.
And I have to say, I'm so immensely grateful for the community that we have, because people were so supportive. A lot of people in the community heard about and saw the footage of what happened. They would just come over and tell me stories about how it happened to them, like how everybody had their version of that. And that helped me hugely to just really get that what I'm going through is normal, and that it's okay that I'm upset. It's okay that I'm lacking confidence right now. It's just part of that process. And it's part of the cycles that we go through as paramotorists. Things happen when you fly. It happens to any pilot. At some point, you're gonna break a prop, you're gonna bend a frame. I broke a prop, not a big deal. Everybody does that. And my frame was bent out of shape, and I started getting bummed out because of that. And lo and behold, one of our buddies looked at it and he goes, "Oh yeah, I could bend that back into shape in about 10 minutes. And I said, "Really?" And he did. It took 10 minutes and I looked at it and it was like it never happened. Good old titanium.
This will be a first launch since the crash, and my heart is in my mouth.
That was so good. Thank you.
Good work. Yeah. Beautiful. Awesome. Good job, girl.
Thank you.
Awesome. Beautiful job.